raindrops keep falling on my head. But that doesn't mean my eyes will soon be turning red. Crying's not for me, 'cause I'm never gonna stop the rain by complaining, because I'm free. Nothing's worrying me. Well, except for Stephen Piscotty and Aledmus Diaz and Rosie and Segrist and, well, really the entire bullpen and the base running, and the defense and the coaching. What's up, everybody? I'm Tara Wellman. This is Birdseeds. It is still raining, and the Cardinals are 500, and I'm kind of happy about it. I mean, it's not normal to look at a 500 team and go, yes. But after the way they started the year, to see them claw back to even after the first month of the season, I'm kind of okay with it. And all in all, to be a game out of first place in the NL Central after the disaster of an opening 2 weeks, I can't be too mad about that. Really, the saving grace is that the rest of the NL Central has kind of been like this over the first month of the season. But the Cardinals are also starting to get contributions from some of those key players. Dexter Fowler is heating up. Matt Carpenter seems to be seeing the ball pretty well these days, what with the walk-off grand slam and a bases clearing double in the series against the Reds. And some of those guys in the back end of the lineup are really pulling their weight. One guy that I haven't talked much about, because you all know that I am a Kolten Wong fan, and I didn't want to buy into the small sample size success at the beginning of the year, it's gotta be Kolten Wong. We have to talk about him for just a minute. He actually is the team-leading OPS after the first month of the season. For anyone that's played in 20 or more games, I mean, I think the leader is Adam Wainwright, and that doesn't really count. Can we give a little credit where credit is due? Now, I know he still has a lot to prove as far as consistency. Can he keep that up? Can he maintain the momentum? I don't know. We'll find out. But it does appear that the put Kolten Wong in the game at second base every day and leave him alone plan is, first of all, being followed through upon, which kudos to Mike Matheny for that, and it seems to be working. So I'm not mad about that either. For all the talk about Kolten Wong's potential struggles, though, there are a couple of guys that have sort of gone under the radar with their own first month of the season struggles. I'm talking about Aledmus Diaz and Stephen Piscotty. Aledmus Diaz took the league by storm last year, and it's really not surprising to see a guy in his second year at the big league level have that sort of sophomore slump. But the league is adjusting to him more than he's adjusting to the league at this point. His average is down to .217 on the year, and he's still only walked twice, despite seeing a lot more breaking pitches and most of them breaking right out of the strike zone. His whiff percentage is up pretty significantly on those breaking pitches, and yes, the league is pitching to him a little bit differently so far, but again, he's now going to have to adjust to their adjustments. If he's going to continue to be the two-hole hitter for this team, which I maintain should actually be Matt Carpenter, but nonetheless, this is an area he really has to improve. He's got to make those adjustments by reestablishing his strike zone and not getting so predictable with that outside breaking ball. We've seen that be the downfall for guys like Matt Adams in the past, who just can't lay off that pitch. And that's not what Diaz appeared to be last season. So I think that he can make the adjustments. I think it will help now that Dexter Fowler and Matt Carpenter seem to be on the right track, and he's not going to be holding things together at the top of the order every day. But it's a process that he has to figure out for this team to be as successful as it should be with guys like Dexter Fowler, Aledmus Diaz, and Matt Carpenter at the top of the order. But then there's Stephen Piscotty. He came out of the spring struggling, and we sort of talked about it then, but we all also sort of agreed that, this kid's smart enough, Stanford, right, that he's going to figure it out and he's going to be just fine. In fact, I even argued just a couple of weeks ago that I really like the player that he profiles to be in the cleanup spot for this team. But he's not that player right now. His average is down to 229 on the year. He has 4 doubles and 6 home runs, primarily as the cleanup hitter. Now, his walk rate is actually up a little bit this year, but he has 15 strikeouts to go with those 14 walks. His ground ball rate is up, his home run rate is down, and honestly, he's kind of a mess everywhere else, too. He's a disaster on the base paths right now. I mean, he's been caught stealing 4 times, and for a guy that's not really that fast, you have to be smart in your attempts on those stolen bases, and he's just not been. He's been picked off a couple of times, and when he does get on base, he's only scoring 20% of the time. I realize that has a lot to do with the guys behind him, but when you don't score from second base on a double off the right field wall, that's on you. We're also not seeing the skill set in the field that we saw last year. I mean, we know he has a strong arm, we know he has pretty solid range, and he makes routine plays look easy, but makes some great plays every now and then as well. Well, that was last year. I don't know what we're seeing this year. Someone on Twitter this week pointed out, I don't remember who it was, so if it was you, shout out to you for noticing. Stephen Piscotty is actually positioned significantly further in this year than he was last year, and there's a chance that's why a lot of those should be routine fly balls look anything but routine when they get over his head, and he either has to take a really awkward route to the ball or he just can't get there at all. And part of me thinks that positioning is not all on Stephen Piscotty, so somebody else is to blame there as well. But whatever the case is, he's another guy that really needs to step it up. All of this circles back to this idea of fundamentals and the lack thereof with the 2017 Cardinals. I talked last week specifically about base running and how there seems to be this weird hesitation or confusion or miscommunication as far as what they should do when, which is strange for guys at the major league level. But that same confusion is translating to the defensive side of the game as well. There was a play in the Reds game on Sunday that I'm sure you have seen or read about or argued about at this point because it's been quite the hot topic, where Stephen Piscotty made a play in right field and threw home instead of to second base to prevent the runner from advancing. Well, he was never going to get the runner at home, but he also didn't hit the cutoff man because there wasn't a cutoff man. So then when Yadi got the ball at the plate, he decided to try to go to second, except he just missed second base. And, Dexter Fowler had to pick it up in center field. Well, according to a Rick Hummel article that was posted later, Matt Carpenter had some interesting things to say about that play himself. He said, everybody knows what the situation is, but my mindset was that he was going to throw it to second with no play at home. So, immediately, Matt Carpenter's thinking and Stephen Piscotty's thinking, not the same. Later he said, I wasn't in my spot, as in the cutoff man spot, and that ended up being the thing, but my thought was that if I stayed there, he wouldn't throw it home, but he threw it anyway. Ultimately, that's what you get for assuming. So here's my question. Why are they assuming? Stephen Piscotty has to know what the play is in that situation, and Matt Carpenter has to know the same thing. Now I realize that in any given situation, there are a number of different things you can do. There are different options. There are different plays to be made. There are different answers to the same question. And that's fine. I'm not really here to argue whether Stephen Piscotty should have thrown home or to second base. I will leave that to the Twitterverse. However, my point is that these guys have to have the same answer to these questions so that they can then back each other up on the field rather than inadvertently throwing each other under the bus after the game because, well, they were reading out of a different playbook. What say you? Is this all a matter of not having Jose Oquendo? And is there an Oquendo 2.0 that the Cardinals can go out and get if that is the case? Let me know your suggestions in the comments below. All of that said, the Cardinals are, as I mentioned, just one game back of the division leaders. But that makes it a little more frustrating because you think if they could have just won one of those games where they made too many silly mental mistakes, they'd actually be tied for first, which would be great. All that means is that this is a big week for the Cardinals. This is a big month for the Cardinals, really, because this will define who they really are. Are they the 3-9 Cardinals that started the season, or are they the 9-3 Cardinals since then? It's great to get back to 0, but you gotta keep moving in the right direction, or you're gonna be just as frustrated 2 weeks from now as you were 2 weeks ago. And nobody wants that. So, with the Brewers, let's see if they can contain Eric Thames for another series, and we'll talk about it next week. I'm Tara Wellman, and I'll see you next time on Birdseeds.